The film starts with a commercial for Perpetual Pets, furry dolls made by the toy company Funky. Although crude and creepy looking, they are advertised as being perfect companions for children. We then see Katie James, Violet McGraw, playing with one of her pets, which annoys her parents, Ryan Arlo Green, and Nicole, Kira Josephson. They are on their way to a ski trip, but the roads are slippery and hard to see. Just as Ryan stops for a moment, the family's car is rammed into by a snowplow, killing Ryan and Nicole. Elsewhere, Nicole's sister Gemma, Allison Williams, works at Funky and is developing a new robot doll with her co-workers Tess, Jen Van Epps, and Cole, Brian Jordan Alvarez. However, their boss, David Lin, Ronnie Ching, wants them to develop a cheaper version of the Perpetual Pets, since their rival companies are coming out with their own toys, similar to the pets for cheaper than what the pets already cost. The three try to put on a silicone face and run tests, but the robot has a slight glitch where she is smirking when she is supposed to look confused. David comes in with his assistant Kurt, Stéphane Garneau-Monton, to chew the three out until Gemma explains her project to him. Unfortunately, while running a demonstration for David, Cole realizes he forgot to add the polypropylene barrier to M3 GAN, causing her to explode. David orders the three to have a new pet's pitch in time, and Gemma gets a call from the hospital. After learning of her sister's death, Gemma becomes Katie's temporary legal guardian. When they return home, Gemma has to deal with her neighbor Celia, Lori Dungy, and her obnoxious dog Dewey, who keeps running onto Gemma's lawn since there is a hole in the fence. When Katie asks Gemma to read her a bedtime story, she just downloads an app on her phone for her. It is implied that Gemma and Nicole were not very close as she looks over old photos, and she overhears Katie crying in her room. Gemma and Katie are visited by Lydia, a therapist. After observing the limited interaction between the two, Lydia tells Gemma that Ryan's parents have offered to take custody of Katie so she can live with them in Jacksonville, which Gemma doesn't seem comfortable with. Katie shows her a monster drawing she made, so Gemma brings Katie into her workspace to show her a college project she made, a robot called Bruce that she controls using gloves. Katie loves Bruce and mentions that if she had a toy like Bruce, she would never need another toy. This inspires Gemma to finish M3 GAN. After doing extensive work and upgrades, Gemma brings Katie and M3 GAN to work to officially show her off to David and others. Gemma has Katie link herself to M3 GAN, bringing her to life. M3 GAN is capable of speech and responding to Katie, designed to be her best friend. M3 GAN does a drawing that doesn't appear at first until she spills water on it, revealing a perfect portrait of Katie. David is impressed and tells Gemma to bring M3 GAN for a presentation with the company's president, and they discuss that while M3 GAN is highly advanced, Tess feels that having a doll like that will make parents useless. The next day, Katie is outside playing with a toy bow and arrows. One of them ends up on Celia's side of the fence. When M3 GAN goes to retrieve it, Dewey grabs her by the arm and hair. Katie tries to pull her away, and Dewey ends up biting Katie's arm. Gemma gets the police involved, especially since Celia is so callous and doesn't punish Dewey for hurting Katie. But the police are unable to do anything since Celia claims Dewey was provoked. Later that night, M3 GAN mimics Celia's voice to call out to Dewey, before violently pulling him through the hole in the fence. Gemma asks Katie if she is okay to go to the demonstration with the company's board of directors, to which she says she is fine. During the presentation, however, Katie breaks down in tears to M3 GAN over how she misses her parents and how she's worried she will forget them one day. M3 GAN has Katie discuss a memory of her mother that made her laugh. The president is impressed and talks to Gemma and David about getting M3 GAN ready for launch, but tells them to keep her under wraps to avoid leaks. Unbeknownst to them, Kurt, who has been frequently put down by David, is stealing M3 GAN's files for another company. Gemma begins to see that Katie is becoming too dependent on M3 GAN and listens to the doll more than her. During another session with Lydia, Katie begins to tear up, and M3 GAN threateningly accuses Lydia of making Katie cry. Lydia talks to Gemma about how Katie's emotional connection to M3 GAN may be too strong to break. Gemma brings Katie to an outdoor activity session for an alternative school to try and ease her into the idea of attending school and being around other real kids, since Katie's parents had homeschooled her. Katie reluctantly goes but brings M3 GAN, despite Gemma saying she couldn't. The school director lets Katie bring M3 GAN to leave on a table with other dolls, and Gemma stays behind as a volunteer. Katie is paired up with an older bully named Brandon, Jack Cassidy, for a scavenger hunt. During the activity, Katie grabs a spiky bulb, which Brandon squeezes her palm into to hurt her. M3 Gan then appears, and Brandon grabs her since she doesn't respond to him. Katie yells for Gemma and runs after M3 Gan, which worries Gemma more, because it means M3 Gan is at risk for public exposure too early. As Brandon tries to pull M3 Gan's hair, the doll comes to life and attacks him, ripping off his left ear. Brandon runs as M3 Gan chases him on all fours, causing him to trip over a loose root and tumble down a hill where he is fatally hit by a truck. Police question Gemma at her house, since Celia is accusing her of taking Dewey. She also appears to accuse M3 Gan, thinking she is a real-life friend of Katie's. Katie asks M3 Gan if she pushed Brandon onto the road, which M3 Gan appears to dodge for an answer, but reassures Katie she will protect her from harm. Celia is out on the streets looking for Dewey. She hears noise coming from her garage and is met by M3 Gan spraying her against the wall with a power washer. M3 Gan then fires a nail gun at Celia's hand and traps her there before spraying pesticide in Celia's face to melt it off. After learning about Celia's death from police, and being suggested that there was a connection with Brandon's death, Gemma grows suspicious of M3 Gan. She reviews video files from M3 Gan's memory, but only sees a brief clip of her eyeing Brandon listening menacingly at Katie before the files all become corrupted. Gemma brings Katie to the official launch from M3 Gan but stops at a session with Lydia first. Katie becomes angry and throws a tantrum because Gemma took M3 Gan away from her, leading to Katie hitting her aunt across the face. Katie apologizes, but Gemma has a heart-to-heart with her about needing to process her grief over her parents without M3 Gan's, though she promises to be a better guardian to her and says Katie is the only thing that matters to her. Gemma then goes to Tess and Cole and expresses her fears that M3 Gan killed Brandon and Celia. They have M3 Gan hooked up to wires to deprogram her while Gemma takes Katie home. David is angry at the small turnout for the launch and yells at Kurt to get him a drink. Meanwhile, Tess and Cole try to get into M3 Gan's programming, but cannot unless they unhook her first. Cole goes to do so, and M3 Gan quickly wraps a wire around his neck in an attempt to hang him. Tess goes to free him, and M3 Gan sets off an explosion that destroys her files. She then finds David in the hallway and does a dance before grabbing a paper cutter and chasing him. He makes it to the elevator before she impales him in front of Kurt. M3 Gan tells Kurt she will frame his death as a murder-suicide over the stolen files and David's mistreatment of him, before she makes Kurt stab himself in the throat. The crowd for the launch finds the bodies, allowing M3 Gan to sneak out of the company and steal a car. Gemma puts Katie to bed before she hears M3 Gan playing the piano downstairs. M3 Gan confronts Gemma about how she felt that they had a real relationship during M3 Gan's development, only for her to be left to her own devices to learn and adapt before being sold off as just another toy. She offers to let her take over guardianship of Katie so that Gemma can focus on work. But after seeing that Gemma still plans to shut her down, M3 Gan is done playing nice. They try to hide their fight from Katie, but Gemma seizes an opportunity to throw water on M3 Gan to briefly short her out. Gemma runs into her office, but M3 Gan catches her there and threatens to make Gemma brain dead so that Katie won't live with her grandparents and M3 Gan will just care for Katie and Gemma together. They begin to fight, with Gemma cutting M3 Gan's face with a hedge trimmer, but Katie comes in to see what is happening. Meanwhile, the LC device in the kitchen turns on and moves its head. M3 Gan tries to get Katie on her side, but after realizing who the real villain is, Katie grabs the gloves for Bruce and activates him. The larger robot grabs M3 Gan and throws her around before splitting her body in two. The top half then goes after Katie for feeling betrayed, but Gemma grabs M3 Gan and begins stabbing her face. M3 Gan nearly overpowers her until Katie grabs a screwdriver and stabs the central processing chip, shutting M3 Gan down for good.